Hello, hello, FedPhoenix fam. So, today I want to update you guys on a few things, but the meat and potatoes, the bulk of this video, will be showing you some of my prison items that I still have. So let's just get right on into it, shall we? All right. The first one, when you leave federal prison, what they're going to do is, let's say you're catching a bus or planes aren't that often, or trains. Generally it's bus home or someone's picking you up. But let's say you're catching a bus, right? And part of your travel plans includes paying for a cab or something of that nature, because they're going to give you the bus ticket that you're not going to have to pay for. Most people leave on the bus. And if you go to Alderson, the bus station you'll be leaving out of is Beckley, West Virginia. But when you leave, whatever money is on your book. So if you're expected to be like paying for a cab to get like from the bus station to the halfway house, for example, which is very common, they will call that area, cab company in that area, and find out typically what the cost of that taxi will be. So when you leave, you will get money for that taxi, right? And if you're expected to travel over a certain amount of hours, I think for every 8 or 9 hours you're expected to travel, if you're not being picked up, they will also give you like a meal allowance, which is like $7 or $8. It's laughable, but it's something. But whatever money you have on your books, okay, more often than not, you will get it all on a debit card. Now, sometimes they'll give you some of it in cash, particularly if you're catching the bus. And then the difference on a debit card, it just kind of depends. But they'll give you this debit card literally when you leave the prison, and it does not need to be activated. It's already activated because obviously you don't have a cell phone or anything to make a call and activate something. And this is what the card will look like. I don't know if you can see that, but it will say personal funds and have your inmate ID photo. People love that at the cash register. And this is what it is. It's a prepaid debit card. Now, the thing with this card too is a lot of people, when they get this card, myself included, like when we got dropped off at the bus station at Beckley, I mean, it was hours and hours before my bus and several people's buses were coming. So me and a couple other girls decided we're gonna, we noticed that there was a Sheets nearby that was open 24 hours, of course. And we're like, we're gonna head to the Sheets, because we're not sitting out in the freezing cold, for hours and hours waiting for our bus. And so we go to the Sheets to hang out for a while, before we go to the bus. And of course, we use our inmate debit cards, to get snacks and cigarettes and whatever. And I went to the ATM because when you get the debit card, there'll be a paper attached to it that'll tell you the PIN number for it, right? So I went to the ATM at the gas station to take some money off my card so I would have some cash on hand, a decent amount of cash on hand. And the freaking thing would not work. If yours does not work, try once, try twice, stop. Stop right there. Because if you do not, and you try it a few times, and it keeps saying wrong PIN number or whatever, you could potentially lock the card up, and you do not want to do that, especially when all the money you have in the world, pretty much for most people, is on that card. What you can do is you can use it to make debit purchases or credit purchases. And of course, with debit purchases, a lot of times you can get cash back with those purchases. I highly recommend that. Another option you have is once you get home or to the halfway house or wherever, if you already have an existing bank account, or if you're going to establish a bank account, you can take this card, this inmate card, literally to any bank, and they actually have a machine that you can pull, that they'll run it as debit, right? They have a way they do this. I think they run it as like a debit transaction rather than an ATM transaction, like inside the bank in the lobby. Don't go to the ATM, go inside. And they can, pull money off of it for you as well. Or you can say, I have $700 on this card. I want to, open a checking account with 500 and just get the other 200 in cash, and they can do that as well. So, that was one of the things I have from prison. I don't even know why I still have it. There's literally nothing on it. It's just something I haven't gotten around to throwing away. And really the first few months I was home, I still had little bits of money on it. And, I didn't want to, I wasn't going to throw away $1 of anything I had because I needed every bit of it. So that's that. So second item today, if I can find, I found it. If I can find it, is I still have, and I don't even know why, honestly. It's just, it's weird, but it is what it is. But I still have My federal prison ID. Now, this, you'll notice the little hole in it. At all federal prisons, all inmates at all times, obviously outside of when you're in the shower or when you're in your cube or cell, depending on what type of facility you go to, are required to wear and display their inmate ID at all times on their person. At Outerson, you see that little hole? At Outerson, we actually wore ours on a lanyard around our neck that had a little clip that held the ID on. Um, when I was in prison, I don't know why. You don't have much to give to your people. You know what I mean? And you're definitely not present. But I had this brilliant idea that I was going to send someone very close to me. My inmate ID is almost like a souvenir, for lack of a better term, of this chapter of life. And I did that. And of course, what I did is after I mailed it out to them, then I went to a CO. And I said, hey, I lost my inmate ID, do. And what they did is they printed me out a temporary one, which is a piece of paper I had to carry around all day in my pocket. And then, I went down the hill a day or two later. They sent me down the hill to get a replacement. So, just saying. Now, if you get a replacement, you don't get to retake your picture. I've seen so many girls throw them away, send them out of the prison or do whatever because they want a different picture on their inmate ID. Honey, they ain't retaking that picture. Not at all. Not one little tiny bit. And that's going to be the picture on your inmate debit card. Now, fun fact, my inmate ID, on the back of it, is this really wonky 3D foam sticker. We could not buy these. We were not given these. But I knew somebody in education, and I think what they did is like swiped from one of the non-inmate staff, swiped like a sheet of these like foam 3D stickers. And this little guy actually had two little googly eyes when I first got him. And they gave me, how fortunate I was to get this little sticker. And when he lost his first eye, I drew it back on, and then he had like one googly eye here. And when he lost his second eye, I thought, he's okay with one eye. And of course, I drew a shirt on him and colored in his ears a little bit and whiskers and a mouth. And when you're in prison, you're really bored. Very bored. It's very monotonous. It's very unstimulating. And it's so depraved. There's such a high amount of inaccess to so many common things that when you get something so exciting, like a little foam sticker that you can stick on the back of your inmate ID, which when you're wearing it, the COs don't know you have it because it's hidden on the back. You will literally probably draw him a shirt, draw him a face, draw him eyeballs if he loses his googly eyes, give him a name, and perhaps talk to him at times. That is the prison experience in a freaking nutshell, let me tell you. So, the last and final item of today's show and tell of prison items. When I got to prison, I read the handbook. I actually read the handbook before I went to prison because I found it on the Bureau of Prisons Outerson website, Outerson Information, the inmate handbook, and I read it. And when I got there, I read and reread, because when you first get there, they're going to give you a copy of the inmate handbook. And I read and reread it so many times because I knew that, one, you telling them, if you do something you're not supposed to, even accidentally, and you tell them, oh, I didn't know, if it is in the handbook, you're accountable for it. It's kind of like that saying, there's no excuse for ignorance of the law. That's how they're going to treat you in regards to the handbook. Also, if you do something, because the handbook wasn't very well updated at all. So if you do something that you're not supposed to do or fail to do something you're supposed to do, but you followed the handbook, right? You can't get in trouble. Even if they give you a write-up, even if they give you a shot, you can bring the handbook with you when you're, kind of held accountable for your disciplinary infraction. And if you can show in the handbook how you were solely acting based upon what you had read in the handbook, then now the fact that you didn't know any better is okay, and this is going to get thrown out. But if you fail to do something, or if you do something contrary to what you're supposed to, even with no knowledge of this, non-intentionally, as long as they can say it was in the handbook, so you should have known, you're going to be held accountable. You're going to be punished. So it was a very big thing to know the handbook. And so definitely make that a huge priority if you're going to prison, to as soon as you get your handbook, you start studying it and read it many times cover to cover like it is the gospel. So another thing was in the handbook, though, I noticed on the list of personal property that each individual inmate could possess was on top of the locker could be a framed photo. Now I thought, whoa, this is pretty top notch for the environment, pretty exciting to add to the aesthetic, right? but they didn't sell picture frames, which was, you know. And so I talked to an inmate that had been there for a very long time. And she said, well, actually, back before COVID, we used to have almost like book fairs where there would be like special like catalogs or sheets we would get of things we could order, like books and bookmarks. And in that would be picture frames. They were just, cardboard or heavy paper picture frames. But, it was something different. So it was exciting and people would get these. But they weren't available when I was at Alderson because these book fair type things no longer existed. As far as I know, they've never come back. But I thought I can have a framed picture on my locker. I'm gonna put a framed picture on my locker. So I'm gonna show you my framed picture from my locker. Picture of my children, right? The frame itself and the back of it are actually the remnants of a discarded composition book. The lovely flowers adorning this framed family photo were actually, I had bought a sympathy greeting card off of commissary because I needed the envelope because we couldn't get envelopes to write letters at this point. But if you got a greeting card, it comes with an envelope. So now I have an envelope to actually write somebody. So I kept the envelope for that. And the card itself was like a sympathy card and it had these flowers on it. So I cut these flowers out. Initially, I only put one on here, right? And then I used a safety or a bobby pin, which were very hard to acquire. That's a real commodity right there because the cosmetology program had been shut down for quite a long time. We can't buy bobby pins on commissary. And the only way to get them, or used to be to get them, is people would basically steal them from, going to cosmetology school. And use them or sell them on the units. But I had found one, that had been floating around camp to help make this where it could actually like stand up, right? So initially I only put this flower on here, right? And I put this picture of my kids. And this is an older, not older, it's older now. It's probably like a 3 or 4 year old picture. But, at the time it was, a year or two old. And I really like this picture of my 2 kids. And I put it on my locker. And I will never forget a very masculine, very large woman, seen the picture on my locker walking by. And so one day we're just having small talk and, in my doorway, in my cube. And she was a little off. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if she was intellectually impaired, if she was mentally ill, maybe a little combo going on there, but there was definitely some stuff going on, and on top of that, and it's significant in this story, she was very masculine. She was one of the boys. So anyway, so I'm talking to this boy, and she says she sees this picture of my kids in my locker. She goes, "Oh, who are those people?" And I said, "Oh, those are my kids. Yeah, that's my daughter and that's my son." And I think my kids at the time were like, my daughter was like 18 or 19, so my son would have been like 4 or 5. No, my son was 4, my daughter was 18. I want to say. And I said, "Yeah, those are my kids. That's my son and my daughter." And she was like, "Oh, how old are they?" And I said, "Oh, the little guy is, 4, and the my daughter's 18." And she smiles and she goes, "Oh." She goes, "Ooh," because see where this flower is, you used to be able to see a little teeny bit of cleavage and a tattoo. So she sees, she goes, "Oh, okay." Looks at the picture again and goes, "Oh, your daughter's a bad bitch." When I tell you, I literally clutched my non-existent pearls in shock. And I was fairly new to prison, mind you, at this point. So I was really just not ready for some of the nonsense, some of the foolery that was going to be happening. She said, "Oh, your daughter a bad bitch." And I'm like, "Oh, that's my baby. That's my baby." She said, "Yeah, but you said she 18, right? She grown." Mind you, this woman who's saying this boy, is my age. Is at that point, this person is like late 30s, early 40s. And I'm telling you, this is, or you're thinking this is an 18-year-old child, when actually in this pic, she was like maybe 16. And it's my child. And you go, your response is to basically say you find her attractive, which freaked me out on so many levels for so many reasons. And none of which because she was a boy and I'm a homophobe, because that's not at all the case. And my daughter happens to be heterosexual, which neither here nor there. But when she said that, and I was just like, as soon as she walked away, I take the picture off my locker, right? And I put it in my locker. And I'm just like, what the hell do I do? Like, do I put a different picture in there? Because what I can't do, what I can't mentally handle is for the next couple of years having random women who are old enough to be my child's parent commenting on how they find her attractive. I can't handle that, but I do want to have a picture on my locker. So my solution was I dug the remainder of this sympathy card out of the trash, got the less attractive flower that I didn't cut out off of it, and I attached that. And if you're wondering how this little gem is held together, it's held together with tape. The fun thing is sometimes when people get books in them, right? You know, books come in boxes and bags. The mailroom would just put them in like a clear bag, right? And there'd be usually a piece of paper on there. Sometimes they write out with Sharpie, you know, the name and the inmate number of the person the book is for. And I think their unit sometimes too. But these bags were held closed with little teeny pieces because we weren't allowed, you know, we weren't allowed to buy and therefore not allowed to have in our possession Scotch tape, clear tape. So I literally started saving all these little scraps of tape and even asking other people for theirs. Like if you got a book and it was in a clear bag, I was not above going up to you. Even if we'd never spoke before, saying, excuse me, I hate to bother you, but I'm working on a project. Can I have the tape off of there, please? Because I was on a mission. You know, you find when you're incarcerated, you will find little random, frivolous, sometimes just insane things to do to occupy your time and your mind. Because I had a few, trust me. But yeah. That's my locker photo. This is literally shortly after I got to prison until I left. Every day, the first thing I seen before I went to in the morning and the last thing I seen before I went to bed. Constantly reminding myself that this was temporary and I would be with my children again. And any time where I wanted to get out of character or I felt compelled to do something that would potentially get me in trouble, I would go in, or if I was already in, you know, but if I wasn't, I would go to, as quickly as possible, my cube and look at this picture on my locker again and remind myself, this is temporary and I have to get out of here as quickly as humanly possible because these two, they need me to get the hell out of here and I owe that to them. And there's nothing that's going on in here, short of anybody, if they were to put their hands on me, that would justify me being a day later than I have to be getting back to them. So those are a few of my prison items. And I know I have some others. And as I organize stuff and go through stuff and whatever, I'm sure I'll do other videos of my random prison stuff. And I'll show you guys. I feel at this point, I'm definitely throwing away the inmate debit card as soon as I'm done with this video. Now, my inmate ID and its lanyard, actually, I actually have hanging on the rearview mirror of my car, as well as several other miscellaneous things from, a craft my son did that has his picture on it, to all kind of random stuff. And I guess it's almost like a reminder for myself when things are frustrating or overwhelming, because I have my struggles. I don't harp on them. I don't complain a lot. But believe me when I tell you, I have my fair share of struggles even still in life. And when these things happen, and when these things are on my mind, when the negative is on my mind, and I'm driving, I look over and I just, unintentionally will see my inmate picture, my inmate ID. And it really puts things in perspective. It really does. That no matter what difficulties I may face in the free world, it could certainly be a lot worse. So, now, just to give you all a little quick update on my situation, on my reentry. As you all know, I've been home 11 months from prison. In this time, I've lost a little over 30 pounds. I have made leaps and bounds in getting my health together, including a major surgery that I needed as a result of the negligence at prison. I've gotten my knee, my spine and my knee injections, so I'm no longer in constant chronic pain, Like my thyroid numbers are much, much better. When I came home, I was on, literally on the verge of coma because they were so bad due to just not being able to get my meds. And now I'm doing much better. So there's so much, and I could go on, but these are some of my personal, that don't, that have nothing to do with anyone else kind of gained since I've been home, or achievements, or whatever you want to call them. Now I'm facing a particular difficulty of a financial nature. I really don't want to get into the details of it, but just know that in all these videos, I mentioned my PayPal and Cash App, and, very lightheartedly say, if you want to donate to the channel, my PayPal and Cash App are in the description. And when I tell you not a person has done that since I've been home, and I'm not mad, I'm not upset, I'm not, because I'm not entitled to shit. No one owes me nothing. But if you would like to, I would greatly appreciate whatever help I can get right now, because I'm facing a bit of a financial crisis. Um, and my PayPal and Cash App are in the description. But and also, so there's a link to the merch line. Get you a FedPhoenix t-shirt or hoodie or coffee cup. And you guys know I'm working on my first book. That should be coming out soon. On Facebook now, there is a FedPhoenix group, which is a support group for an informational group for the formerly federally incarcerated, the soon-to-be, and the loved ones of both. So, if you'd like to, feel free to join that. We're up to like 230 subscribers, I think, which, is a snail's pace in progress on the growth of the channel, but it's something, and I'm grateful for it. And if you're watching this and you're not currently a subscriber, it costs you nothing. It does me a world of good mentally and just logistically. I would greatly, greatly appreciate your subscription. Oh, and next month, no, less than a month, on March 28th, I will have fully completed my 1 year of supervised release post-incarceration. So in less than a month, I will be off federal paper and I will be free. I will always carry the stigma for the rest of my life that I'm a felon, that I'm a federal felon, that I'm a drug felon, and all the crap that comes with that. That's never going away. But I no longer will have to be fearful that in a random traffic stop or random situation where I'm not consciously doing anything wrong, I could get into trouble and this could slam me back into prison, or this could put me in the regional, which is our like county jails, for a month or 2 months or a week. The constant fear of that comes with being on federal probation will be no longer a factor in my life. And I am elated that is so close to coming into fruition. So with that, and my email will be in the description as well if you need to contact me for any reason. I have a lot of people that reach out to me, particularly through Facebook. And I help them and their loved ones, calculate, how long they're going to do with FSA, and I give them advice on self-surrendering and different things. And if I can be of any assistance to you or to your loved ones, by all means, reach out. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. So with that, good day, God bless, and that was a little bit of my prison stuff.